muscles of the mastication supplied by the branches of the mandibular nerve. Now comes the applied of the muscles. In the applied of the muscles of the mastication, one is the tetanus, which causes the lock jaw. So lock jaw is the occlusion of the maxillary and the mandibular teeth. Usually there is a gap between the maxillary and mandibular teeth. How much? Anybody? They don't touch each other, but there is a gap. How much? 2 to 4 mm. But in the lockjaw, there is a total occlusion is there because of the tetanus disease. You know, tetanus is a disease of muscle contraction, spasm. Or what is called trismus. So all the skeletal muscles of the human body, they undergo spasm or the trismus. What is the spasm? Sustained state of muscle contraction. Sustained, prolonged state of the muscle contraction is called the spasm. So all the muscles of the back, all the muscles of the jaw, all the muscles of the human body, they undergo prolonged spasm. So all the muscles of the mastication, they undergo this spasm, which is called the trismus, and it causes the lockjaw, and patient cannot move, cannot open the mouth. So he can't take any water, he can't take any food, he will die. So death is there. And tetanus produces the tetanus toxoid. This tetanus toxoid acts on the, where it acts? Neuromuscular junction, NM junction. You have done in the physiology, first chapter I think, muscle. So NM junction. All the neurotransmitters release acetylcholine, choline, serotonin or any other. And their enzyme, that is the lytic enzyme, is the in the postsynaptic membrane or in the postsynaptic gutter. What is the acetylcholinease is. So it acts on that and doesn't cause its breakdown. So the action of the muscle contraction remains prolonged. So that is the mechanism of the, what is the spasm. So muscles become, so there is a spasm of the, so that is called, and that we have also done in the platysma muscle. So platysma muscle is present in the face, in the roof of the anterior and the posterior triangle. So it also undergoes the spasm, and spasm lead to the sarcastic smile of the patient because of the platysma. That is called rhesus sardonicus. It appears that the patient of the tetanus suffering is laughing, but he is not laughing, he is dying because of the spasm of the muscle of the face and neck, that is called platysma. So when you do the anterior triangle and the posterior triangle, there is a full note on the platysma muscle: origin, insertion, action, nerve supply as well as applied. Then we will again repeat the rhesus sardonicus, that is the sarcastic smile. So that is the lockjaw. Another related term of the is the trigeminal neuralgia. So you know the trigeminal nerve, all the three divisions, ophthalmic, maxillary as well as the mandibular divisions, they supply the some part of the face. As we have done, the sensory nerve supply of the face is done by all the three branches via its different nerves. So mandibular nerve also supplies the teeth, mandibular teeth, and maxillary teeth is supplied by the maxillary nerve. So trigeminal nerve indirectly supplies the roots of the teeth. And whenever there is any problem in the root of the teeth, it leads to the pain in all three divisions of the trigeminal: ophthalmic, maxillary, as well as mandibular. Such a pain is called referred pain. Referred pain on the face, so if any tooth is involved, is not having pain due to some disease, then the root of that tooth is supplied by inferior alveolar nerve we have done. And this inferior alveolar nerve is the branch of mandibular division. So many nerves are there. And it will go to the trigeminal, ultimately trigeminal will go to the brain. Trigeminal has got the branches which supply the around the eye also. Sensory innervation, nasociliary, supratrochlear, supraorbital, all these are the branches of ophthalmic division. Then maxillary division, it supplies the maxilla, zygomatico-temporal, zygomatico-facial, and infraorbital nerve which supplies the continuation of the maxillary nerve. This area. So when pain is going along the diseased tooth to the trigeminal ganglion, and ultimately it enters into the pons. If you remember the diagram of the brainstem, you know the trigeminal nerve arises from pons. Every nerve arises from the different parts of the brain. You should know which nerve arises from the midbrain, which on the pons, and which on the medulla. So this is the pons. So pain is going into the via the mandibular nerve passing through the foramen ovale. So when one tooth is involved, this referred pain goes to the ophthalmic division also, and to the maxillary division also, and all other branches of the mandibular nerve, all branches supplying the sensory or motor. So this is the retrograde pathway. Main pain pathway is going here. It reaches the pons. The trigeminal nerve arises from here by three routes: ophthalmic, maxillary, and mandibular division. And all these nerves, they end into the principal sensory nucleus. So the message is going to the principal sensory nucleus of trigeminal. It means pain reaches the brain. When pain reaches the brain, we know that we are having the pain. But at the same time, because the nerve is the same, so the pain going here, supplying the brain, the same sensations they go via the ophthalmic and maxillary division. Retrograde, back. So such a pain is called a referred pain. It is called the referred pain. So patient will come with the pain not only in the tooth, but pain of whole of the forehead. Wherever the supratrochlear and supraorbital nerve they are supplying the skin, that skin becomes painful. Eye become painful because the ophthalmic division also supplies the skin around the eye. Nose also becomes painful of half of the face, because nose is supplied by which branch? External nasal nerve. Whole of the skin covering our maxilla, covering our buccinator muscle, supplied by maxillary division, is also painful. So skin become painful. Then all the muscles of the mastication, they are also painful, because one of the nerves, if inferior alveolar, is irritated. It causes the irritation of all the divisions of the trigeminal nerve, and all sensory and motor branches. Patient feel pain in the skin as well as deep into the muscle. So that is the condition, pathetic condition of patient suffering from trigeminal neuralgia. And in Bollywood, actor who is suffering from this disease? Anybody if know? Salman Khan is suffering from the last 10 years this trigeminal neuralgia. Every year he goes after 6 months to New York for injection into the trigeminal ganglion. So that is the pathetic condition. Patient says that I want that my half of the face should be cut and throw. This is the agony of the pain condition. So that is called trigeminal neuralgia. So whenever a question of the mandibular nerve comes or muscles of mastication come, you should mention what is detail, what is the trigeminal neuralgia. Third applied we have already done with the face lift operation. Face lift operation done in the Bell's palsy, and which muscle we are using? Which muscle is using for operation? Temporalis. So that we have to mention here also in the applied note. Whether it has been asked in the examination or not, you have to write down in the answer the applied of every answer. It will give you the good marks. So this is how you have to elaborate your answer of the what is called the muscles of mastication. Now next part of after finishing with the muscles of the mastication is the TM joint. That is the temporomandibular joint. So on one side there is a temporal bone, on other side there is a mandible, so it is called the temporomandibular joint. And it is a unique variety of the joint. What is the uniqueness of this joint? Anybody? What is the uniqueness of the TM joint? We got the elbow joint, knee joint, hip joint, so many synovial joints from head to toe. You have read in the general anatomy. With both the TM joints, they act simultaneously. You can't move one TM joint, the other is stationary. No. Whenever they will act, they are acting bilateral. Any other joint of the body, if you are moving elbow of the right side, left side is stationary. Knee joint, you are moving right side, left side is at rest. But you can't rest the TM joint. So that is the uniqueness, that both the joints, they act bilaterally. Bilaterally. Temporomandibular joint. So both they act bilaterally, simultaneously. And what is the variety of the joint? Naturally it is a movable joint, so it is a synovial variety of bicondylar. Bicondylar joint. So whenever a question of the joint comes, you should know how to attempt it. First, the bones taking part in the joint formation. You have to describe the bones, maybe small or large joint. So what are the bones taking part in the joint or the TM joint? So on one side there is a skull, and which part of the skull is taking? Temporal bone. So temporal bone is taking on one side, on other side is the mandible. Which part of the mandible? Head or the condyloid process. So you have to describe this as well as the temporal fossa, where the head is fitting. So then you have to proceed one by one. So first we have to describe the head of the mandible, which is also called condyloid process. Everything you have to describe. So First is the shape of the head. So what is the shape? You have done the mathematics. Which type of the shape you will say? There are different shapes: rectangle, oval, circular. There are so many shapes you have read in the book. So what is this shape? It is ellipsoid in shape. Ellipsoid variety. Not oval, not circular, not rectangular, no square. It is a ellipsoid. Ellipse, the mathematical shape. And it is convex. One is the ellipsoid, other is the convex, from medial to lateral side, as well as antero-posterior also. Convex, lateral to medial is also convex, and antero-posterior is also convex. So convex variety is the surface. And when you touch the surface, surface is smooth. Why it is smooth? What is covering it? Articular cartilage, that you have to mention. That is not rough, it is smooth, concave and smooth. So these are the characteristics of the head of the mandible you have to mention. You have to describe, then the question will be completed. So it is covered by the articular cartilage, which is made up of, there are different type of the cartilage you will read in the general anatomy. Elastic cartilage, hyaline cartilage. Which is this? Fibrocartilage. So smooth because of the fibrocartilage. And why it is covered by cartilage, you have to mention also. Why the surfaces of the joint, synovial joint, they are covered by articular cartilages? Because they are shock absorber. If the bone strike against the bone, there will be fracture, because bone is the hardest tissue of the body. So they are covered by cartilage, which is soft, made up of chondrocytes. Bones are made up of osteocytes. There is a lot of difference in the cytoplasm of both the cells. You will read in the histology, the detail. So that you have to mention. The fibrocartilage, it is a shock absorber and prevent the fracture of the bones taking part in the joint formation. In the injuries also, if somebody blow the lower jaw like this, then what will happen? The head will strike against the temporal fossa and there will be fracture. But because of the cartilage, it is prevented. So that is what is meant by shock absorber. Then its length is about 20 mm from right to left, lateral to medial. And then comes where the head will be there will be neck also. So below the head there is a narrow neck, and neck is more diverted medially and less on the lateral side. It is not in the center. You will see that neck is more on the medial side and less on the lateral side. So meaning thereby the distance of the medial end from the neck is more and this is less. So head is more medially placed and neck is laterally displaced. And the neck has got 4 surfaces. Neck has four surfaces: anterior, posterior, lateral and medial. Four surfaces are. So head along with the neck also you have to describe. Four surfaces: anterior, posterior, lateral and medial. The anterior surface is having a shallow fossa, that is called pterygoid fovea. So pterygoid fovea you find in the fossa just below the head of the mandible. So that you have to learn. The posterior surface of the neck is smooth and it is related to, how it is related? Posterior surface is related to the auriculotemporal nerve plus superficial temporal artery and vein. Then the medial surface. Medial surface is related to three things: auriculotemporal nerve, maxillary artery and maxillary vein. So that is the relation. The anterior surface, it is related to pterygoid fovea for the insertion of which muscle here? Lateral pterygoid. So lateral pterygoid is there. And the lateral surface, so lateral surface is related to lateral ligament of the temporomandibular ligament, the lateral medial. So this is how you have to write down the bones taking part in the joint formation, that is the head and the neck. Next heading will be the temporal fossa. So temporal fossa is also having the same ellipsoid depression where the head of the mandible fits. So shape is also ellipsoid, so fossa is also ellipsoid in function. Both are. And anterior to this fossa, there is a raised area that is called articular tubercle. Articular tubercle. And articular tubercle laterally is continuous with the zygomatic arc. Zygomatic arc. Medially, it is related to the sphenoidal spine or spine of the sphenoid. Posteriorly, this temporal fossa is having the raised part with the styloid process. Laterally and behind, another raised area is the mastoid process. So fossa is lying in the deep position. Anteriorly there is a elevation made by articular tubercle and posteriorly by the mastoid process. And intervening between the fossa and the mastoid process is the sharp styloid process, which is more laterally placed. So this temporal fossa belongs to the middle cranial fossa. That is the base of the skull. It is present in the base of the skull. Of which part of the bone? The greater wing of the sphenoid. Greater wing of the sphenoid bone. Plus the petrous part of temporal bone. If you see from the cranial fossa. So that from the base of the skull. And behind it, between the styloid process and mastoid process, there is a stylomastoid foramen. So this is the how you have to make the diagram as well as the description of bones taking part. What lies anteriorly, what lies posteriorly, what lies laterally and medially. If you see from the lateral side, this is the articular tubercle, this is the temporal fossa, and this is the zygomatic arc. And laterally there is the external acoustic meatus with concentric plates of tympanic part of temporal bone. This is called the root of the zygoma. And below here is the styloid process. And behind is the mastoid process. So this is the lateral view of the, what is the temporal fossa. You have to make three-dimensional picture. So anatomy is the subject of three dimension. So after describing the bones taking part, the next part you have to describe is the ligaments of the TM joint. So all the synovial joints of the body, they are movers. All the movable joints, they are called, labeled as synovial joints. And any synovial joint is labeled as synovial if it has got 4 prerequisites. Then it is declared as the synovial joint of the human body. Whether it is a small joint like the malleus incus and stapes in the middle ear, or maybe the largest joint of the body, that is the knee joint, but they all fulfill the prerequisite of the synovial joint, the 4 ones. Number 1, the bones taking part, they are covered by articular cartilage. That is the must. Articular cartilage, fibrocartilage, making it movement frictionless, as well as they are shock absorber, plus they are making the noiseless movement. Why in the old age when the people they get up, they got the pain as well as the noise in the knee joint, kadak kadak diwaz. It is because of thinning of the fibrocartilage with the age. And friction dies. And bone touches with the bone, so there will be noises produced. When the fibrocartilage is intact, healthy, thick, there is no noise in the joint. All the synovial joints, they are noiseless because of fibrocartilage, that is the function. Second, bones taking part in the joint formation of the synovial joint, they are wrapped by a small piece of sellotape. That is called fibrous capsule. Fibrous capsule. This is also given in your general anatomy book that you have to finish within first 10 days of your admission in the medical college. Everything is given, and you have also done in the +1, +2, I think. So, if the two bones are together for the joint formation, if we bring them together, what we are doing? Articulation. The process of bringing them together is called articulation. Whenever any joint is formed, two bones have to bring together. So when we bring together, it is called articulation. Now, if we don't keep them together, one is away, this is not a joint. Joint is only possible when they are face to face. So in order to keep them face to face or in articular state, we have to wrap with the sellotape. I put a small sellotape here, now they will remain together. So that sellotape structure like is called the fibrous capsule. That is called the fibrous capsule. It is made up of fibrous tissue, collagen fibers, thick bundles, act as a keeping them together, two bones. So that is called the fibrous capsule. So it is attachment to the proximal as well as the distal bone. of the joint. Then they will be held